Guys, thought I'd bring you along today. We're going to start doing some pinstriping, and I thought it'd be a cool video to show you guys how to prep a brand new brush for pinstriping. They are a little finicky. This is a see if I can get it to focus. There we go. This is a Mac number 3. Several manufacturers make these things. Steve Kafka, Mac is another big name. But we're going to prep this thing, get it ready to use. There's several ways to do it. What I'm going to show you is a guaranteed way that it may not be the best. This is opinionated, but it definitely works. So these things generally are squirrel tail hair, generally what they're made of, and you don't want them to dry out. So this one actually showed up, which I believe most of them do, pretty loose. Every once in a while you'll have one show up that has a real light adhesive on it. It's like sugar water or something like that that holds everything together, and you want to get all that stuff off. But we're going to prep this brush. I've got lacquer thinner, I've got mineral spirits, and I got some 10W30 motor oil, clean motor oil. That's what I use. You can use, there's a few other, they have oil specifically designed for brushes, and obviously they work. So does motor oil. A lot of guys use transmission fluid. I don't care for transmission fluid too much because it has so many additives in it. But if you take care of your brush, it will certainly take care of you. So we're going to walk through. First of all, what we're going to do is dip it in our lacquer thinner. So spin you around and we'll take a look. Alright, so we got it in our lacquer thinner, and you will notice all the hair comes together. You want to dip it in that lacquer thinner and clean anything off of it that may have came from the factory. You don't want that in your paint. You don't want to be super rough with it. You do want to spread it apart enough, you know, to get all up in the fibers of that hair. After you do that, just take your rag, clean it off. Don't pull it really hard, but pull it in one direction. You don't want to rough it up. All right, let's do that one more time. Spinning the brush around, sort of separating it in the bottom. I'm guessing you can probably see that in the bottom of the cup, sort of separating the hair a little bit, but not bending it back on itself or anything like that. Just making sure that lacquer gets on up in those fibers, or hair, really. Now don't be super surprised with a brand new brush if while you're pulling it through you end up with a straggler or a stray hair that may come out with a brand new brush. Alright, after we get it pretty dry, then we're going to go over here to our mineral spirits. Much less harsh. than lacquer thinner. I've seen guys use lacquer thinner to thin their pinstriping paint. I do not recommend doing that. It will thin it and it will get the job done, but it has a lasting effect. And that lasting effect is usually your, all right, see here? See that little, that's some of the, there it goes. Some of that, I really don't know what it is. It reminds me of sugar water. It's not super sticky, but it's just sticky enough. But that was some of the remnants of that. But back to the lacquer thinner. It has a lasting effect, and that is that your shine and your color won't last as long after you've finished your artwork. The UV will have more of a drastic effect on your artwork if you use something as strong as a lacquer thinner. Although it will do the job in a pinch. I would rather not, and I don't recommend using lacquer to thin your brush, whether you're using or to thin your paint rather, whether you're using one shot like this, whether you're using one shot pinstripe, or whether you're using an automotive like a House of Colors, which is a two-part. It needs a hardener. I don't recommend using lacquer. It's pretty abrasive. All right, now what we're going to do, we're going to treat the brush with oil. And what you want to do with this oil, it does, for me, it does two different things. First of all, it's going to train and keep the hair for when you store it. If you'll notice, the hair sort of has a knife edge. And when you store it, you don't want it to dry out. You don't want to just clean your paint out of it with mineral spirits or lacquer thinners or whatever it is you're using and clean your brush out with it and then just lay your brush down, because that lacquer thinner or mineral spirits or water and soap, whatever it is you use, will eventually dry out, and then your hair will scatter again, and that's not what you want. You want to train that to keep its shape. So, but oil also gets down in here in the ferrule, which is where you want it. When you load your brush up with paint, you're really going to load this thing up. I mean, you're going to have a lot of paint. That's one of the great things about these Macs and Kafkas, and man, they just hold a ton of paint. So you're going to get a lot of paint down in here, and any of y'all who have used a paintbrush before know that paint is hard to get out. So what you want to do is make sure that oil really sets down into that ferrule down in there to keep the majority of your paint getting down in there. Like I said, if you take care of these things, they will last a long, long time. And they're not that cheap. They're not $1,000, but a good pinstriping brush will cost you between $12 and $20. So you want to take care of them. They're not your average paintbrush that you get from Home Depot. They're purpose built, so you want to take care of them. Really get that oil down in there, up past your ferrule. You really want to get that oil down in there. And usually what I'll do is I'll rake a little bit off so it doesn't drip all over me, and then I'll spin this thing upside down. Let that oil really get down in that ferrule. If you'll do this later on throughout your jobs, throughout the future using this brush, you'll notice it'll be easier to clean out. if you'll keep that oil down in that ferrule. It'll make cleanup a whole lot easier. Just take a little bit of extra time. You know, to a pinstriper, I'm not what you would call a pinstriper. It's something I want to learn how to do better. But I am a mechanic. So I understand the investment in tools. You want to treat your tools right, you know, so that they serve you well into the future. And a pinstriper's brushes are no different than a mechanic's torque wrench. If you're going to have a torque wrench, you need to know how to treat it. You need to know how to maintain it. You need to know how to store it. If you want that investment, if you want to, you know what I mean? If you want to get the most out of that investment, you need to know how to treat it. All right, so here we are. Now, if you are done for the day, then what I recommend doing, I recommend getting you a scrap piece of nothing. You want it to be clean, knock any dust off of it. Paper will work fine. So what I would do, if you're through for the day, excuse me, got the hiccups again, is I'd lay this brush down, sort of drag it back this way, and leave it. And you're done as far as storing your brush. Now, if you, like I am getting ready to do, if you're going to use it, then before you paint, you want to get the majority of this oil out of your brush. But for now, we're going to leave it just like this. All right. See the shape of that? Well, you would be if I get it down here where you can see it. It's knife shaped. That's what you're after. Shape that knife. Store it in the way that is going to shape it correctly. And the next time you go to use it, you will be in good shape. All right, I'm going to clean all this stuff up. And I've got a couple of wheels over here. I've got to put a pinstripe around. And I'll bring you back when we're ready to do that. We're going to get the paint out, get it mixed a little bit, clean our brush back out, and we'll bring you back then. All right, guys, we're back. I've got me my palette here. I like making palettes out of, usually it's a Summit or Speedway or some sort of hot rod magazine, because they're gloss pages, and the gloss pages work a whole lot better because they don't bleed through when you use them as a palette. So, all right, we've got our treated brush. Now we're going to clean off all the lacquer thinner. And just like before, we're going to clean off all the oil. And just like before, we're going to start with the lacquer thinner. It's much harsher, much stronger of a cleaner, which is what we want to get this oil out. Remember, don't beat your brush to death. Alright. We're going to reach over here, pinch it a little bit, squeeze that lacquer thinner out of it, just like so. I do notice I have a couple of stragglers out here. Alright guys, there's something else I'm going to show you. I'm going to see what it looks like. We may end up having to trim our brush. it might be tough for you to see. I'll try to get you focused in on it. It looks like we have one or two of the squirrel hairs that are sort of hanging out there by themselves at the very end. You don't really want that, because even though it's a single or just two hairs, it still holds paint. And you will see that tiny little bitty line when you go to lift your brush up off of your artwork. You will see that tiny little bitty line left by that single hair. Some brushes you don't have to trim, but you do want to look at your brand new brushes to see. So we'll dry it off and we'll take another look at it and see what it looks like. And if it is sticking out, I'll try to get you focused in to see it, so you'll know exactly what it is I'm talking about. Let me get it against a white background here. Not too bad. I don't know if you'll be able to see this at all. Let me see if I can get you focused in. And let me get my X-Acto knife, which is hanging out here somewhere. It's usually out here readily available. What have I done with my X-Acto knife? Let's see. What have I done? See if I can keep from tripping all over myself. See if it's in the cup up here. Oh, I see it over here. Don't fall. Right in there. That's a little booger I'm looking for. All right. Let's sit back down here. All right, let me see if I can get you focused in. I'll use the edge of this blade to point. Ding, ding, ding. Right here. Boy, you really can't see. Right at the very tip of this thing. Focus for me. There you go. One single hair hanging out at the bottom of this thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to trim it. Like I said, you don't have to trim all of them. Some of them are dead on the money perfect. This one happens to need trim. Now, all you're going to trim off is just the tip. I'm talking about you will barely, I'm not even going to bother showing you because you wouldn't be able to see it. But when I say trim, I mean the tiniest. You don't want to square, you don't want to blunt the end of this thing. You just want to get rid of that one single little hair that tends to hang out there by itself. All right, we are in good shape. Put this back up, put it in a place where I'm not going to be able to find it again. All right, we're ready for paint, guys. So we're going to go with a fire red, one shot. If this turns the right way, you see it. And what we're going to do, even though we don't have a lot of pinstriping to do, load your brush up. Load it up. Try not to make a mess here. all the way back to the quill. And remember, if we took care of this brush correctly, that paint is not going to get buried too far up into that quill. Or not the quill, the ferrule back here. So we want to turn it a little bit, twist it back the other way a little bit, drag it along. Now, it takes a while to get used to how much a brush should drag. A pinstriping brush should have a certain amount of drag to it. That's sort of what helps give you those straight lines. When you go to pinstripe, your brush should have a little bit of drag. I like to think of it sort of as trailer brakes. Some people, that may not make any sense. Some of you know what I'm talking about will say, ah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Trailer brakes, if you're pulling a trailer, say a car trailer or an enclosed trailer, whatever it may be, going down the interstate, every once in a while they'll get what I call a huck-a-buck. They'll get the, wanting to swing around in the back. And if you know what you're doing, you tap that trailer brake and it'll straighten that whole rig out. So what it's doing is pulling from behind the vehicle and pulling that huck-a-buck out of it. Sort of like what's going on with the pinstripe brush. If it slides super easy and there's no restriction or tension, it's hard to get a straight line. But if you have enough tension on the back of it, it wants to pull the brush straight, and that'll help you out. Now, after you load up your brush, you want to get some of that excess off. These things hold an amazing amount of paint. All right, let me get you flipped around and we'll start pinstriping this thing. All right, here we go. All right, mind you guys, I'm no professional pinstriper. I've said it 1,000 times. I learned to do what I'm unwilling to pay for. All right, let's see what we got here. I'm going to try my best to steady my hand up against the outside rim of this thing. And I'm going to turn as I go. I'm not good enough to pinstripe from multiple angles, so I turn it to get as comfortable as I can get. Just take it slow. As you can see, these brushes hold an amazing amount of paint. It just blows my mind how much paint these brushes actually hold. It's shocking. They will just keep going and keep going. Turn it on around here where I can make a little more of a swing. Now, I usually move my whole body, not my wrist. Because your body as a whole moves smoother than your wrist does. And just take it slow. If you'll notice, my hand is moving a lot, but the line is not. That's that drag you want in the brush. That drag will help you keep your line straight. Got a little bit thick there. All right, that's one pinstripe. Move it out of the way. Let's get this other one over here. Excuse me. Getting over a cold. Me and my wife both have got, all right. Now I notice my brush has got a little bit of drag. So I'm gonna dip it in a little bit of that mineral spirits. Thin this out a little bit more. To get that drag where I want it. Mix in, I know you can't see it, but I'm mixing in some of the original paint I laid down with that mineral spirit to sort of get my drag where I want it. Alright, like I was saying, me and my wife are getting over a cold. Very seldom do I ever get sick. I've usually, pretty much my whole life, I've usually had a fairly decent immune system. But it got me this time. Me and Holly both got the flu. I won't go into it, but everything that comes along with it. Now her immune system is much weaker than mine. She doesn't have a very strong immune system, so she catches a lot more of what comes around than I do. And it usually hangs out with her a lot longer than it hangs out with me. Mine lasted, as far as the sore muscles and the just wore out, dog tired, lasted, there's that one done. Now the other one will be a little tougher for you to see because they're still on the lawnmower. But back to being sick. As far as the sore muscles and just dog tired, mine lasted about 24 hours. But I feel so sorry for my wife right now. Hers has lasted her a solid week right now. And boy, she feels like a hot dog with meat slung out of it. All right, I'm gonna see if I can figure you out a place to put you over here, so we can pinstripe these back tires. So I'm gonna move my pallet. Move my pallet over here. That'll work right there. Move my thinner over here. Not my thinner, well, my acetone mineral spirits. Move it over here. I like mineral spirits because it's just a general good all-around thinner. You know, it can be used to pretty much anything. Now what I'm going to try, oh, my wife is going to kill me. Oh, my wife is going to kill me because she already jumped all over me about wearing these good pants out here. And I said, but babe, I ain't going to be doing nothing. Oh, she's going to break my neck. See if I can get that out before I go in the house. All right, kneel down. Now, if you'll notice, the wheels turn, and I'm hoping I can use that to my benefit and just hold the brush still and spin the tire. We'll see how that works. I've pinstriped a few wheels that way. I pinstriped a set of wheels one time on a 40/40 tire machine. Anybody who's ever worked in replacing tires knows what a 40-40 is. Alright, we're going to try to just hold our hand good and still out here by itself and spin this thing. I have to straighten that out here in a minute. That's not working so well, so I'm going to do it freehand. Just do it freehand. Man, that's 100% easier. Freehand is. All right, I'll have to straighten this pinstripe up. When I get around there to it. Now, you'll notice how smooth this brush is moving. It's not because my hand is so steady. It's that drag on the brush that keeps it straight. Now, obviously that's not perfect, but it's close enough. Move you over here. Just like so. Tilt you up a little bit so you can see what's going on. Let me get my palette, my thinner, and load this thing back up, and we'll get back at it again. Alright, lay my thinner down, my palette. Alright, little bit. You're looking for that right amount of drag, and it takes practice. And you know, everybody is different. You know, it's just like anything else. Everybody is different, and what feels suitable to you as a pinstriper may feel too smooth or too sticky for me as a pinstriper. But you will get used to the amount of drag that you want. And it'll just start coming naturally. You'll be able to feel it. As soon as you hit that spot of drag, you'll be able to feel it and go, yeah, that's what I'm after. I gotta fix that little spot right there. Oh yeah. Pinstriping is calming too, because your mind is right here. It's not anywhere else. It's just right here, laying the paint down. Now, obviously, this is not perfect as a lawnmower, but it gives you an idea. My brush was getting a little too sticky. A little bit too much drag. Making it hard to get done what I wanted to get done. Oh yeah. Got a little thin right there, so thicken that up a little bit. And all you do is just apply a little more pressure to your brush, and it will thicken that right up. Oh, that's beautiful. Not really, but it'll work. All right, guys. Let me set you down here just a second. Get my junk up here so I can clean my brush out. All right. That's my pinstriping for the day. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I'm going to put the wheels back on this lawnmower, and we are officially done. Thanks for going along the ride with me, and hit that like and subscribe button, and leave your comments down below. I could use all the help I can get, and we'll see you on the next one, guys.